Okay. And if necessary, I can send you a link to.
Personalized insights to keep you one. Personalized insights to keep you one. Personalized insights to keep you one.
Okay. Oh man, just one? Yeah, you need at least two. Oh. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, you can. Yeah, just
Yeah,
text it
that's
to me.
cool.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Okay. Okay. Oh, you know what? Well, that's fine. Oh, no. I should have given you the name. This is what it is. Yeah, it's fine though. It's fine. It doesn't matter. Right. Sure. Okay. Okay.
Check. Check.
Oh, there we go. Wow.
Good. Did I make your audio worse, D, at all? D, can you say something?
Mic check.
Yeah, yours is good. We're gonna have to live with horrible audio, I think. Wait.
Oh.
So let me turn on. Now you got the echo. Let me try to. You can't hear me now, can you? Can you hear me, D?
Yes, I can.
Is it echoey?
No.
Good.
It was a second ago.
All right. I figured out last minute. Okay, so welcome to our viewers on the Foxhole, Facebook, D Live, and YouTube. There is no canned intro. That's my fault. I didn't have one that fits and kind of forgot until just now. You're on the channel G Ross, and this is a special show with our guest D from CryptedTours on YouTube. Let me put actually a link to CryptedTours off of YouTube real quick. Put it in the chat. I'll put it in both chats. Give me just 1 second, and then we'll move right into introducing our guest. So here's CryptedTours. Let me make sure it works. Okay. So let me pop that in the Foxhole chat, and now also we got people coming in some of the other channels. Looks like we've got somebody on YouTube. I know who that is. Somebody on Facebook as well. Hello, Facebook. All right, so without further ado...
Is the person on Facebook you?
No.
Oh.
Well, maybe.
Is the person on YouTube you?
I'm all the lurkers. I'm 50 lurkers. So you want to introduce our guest? I'll do it.
Sure.
This is Angular, the co-host. Our guest today, and I'll start describing in just a second, but maybe say a quick hello. D from CryptedTours. Welcome.
How's it going, guys? And all you folks out there, hope everyone's doing well.
You know, I could say a large part of the reason why I started about 3-4 months ago doing vlogging, vlogging, blogging, whatever, broadcasting, streaming, is a lot is credit to you, because I've been watching your content for a while now. And so that's kind of, you're inspiring the youth out there, if I can call myself that. So the channel over on YouTube that I linked is called CryptedTours. And I was thinking, and anything you want to squeeze in at any time, this is as much your show as ours. But I was thinking, in case some viewers, and a lot of mine will be familiar with what a cryptid is, but just in case, either I or you could walk through, I think better you, what's like a short introduction to what a cryptid or what cryptids are?
Well, just really short. Cryptid is essentially an animal or creature that is not acknowledged by science, or what we would call science today,
or what Angular and I call science.
Science.
All right, cool. That's a good follow-ups, Angular.
That makes a lot of sense now.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's just connecting together.
Good deal.
Oh, hey, D-Samara's on YouTube.
No, that's the old chat actually continuing. D-Samara may be out there. We have a friend named D-Samara.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I saw. Yeah, I see his name there.
Yep. So, kind of my next question. I like how you're gonna. You kind of remind me. You don't tell people about how the Wall Street bankers hang upside down and eat live cows, at midnight. You don't start with that, right? You start with. I have this problem of jumping in deep. Protect
your cows. They will steal them. They will eat them.
And your small children.
Your small children. We have, I'm at least going to tell people where to find that video. But man, I got to tell you, the most recent video that you posted, at least as of 2 days ago when I was looking, freaked me out.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't, we'll be getting into that at least in discussion if there's time. So, I know that in looking at CryptedTours, the channel, often there's discussion of a specific form of cryptid. But before we get into that, I'm thinking of creatures that science doesn't acknowledge. Would a werewolf be considered a cryptid?
Yes. However, the connotation that that werewolves kind of bring up are such that are in the realm of a man changing into like a hairy wolf-like creature, right? Now, from what I understand, okay, now a lot of people have said that they've seen a lot of things, but a werewolf itself is more a supernatural creature, or considered a supernatural creature, as opposed to a cryptid. So, that being said, there are creatures that are called werewolves, but they don't change into people. So, essentially, you have two creatures that look similar. You have a werewolf and you have a dogman. Now, the werewolf has a very similar body structure to a man, or we'll say a Bigfoot, but on their feet, they have claws, but their feet are like human feet. They have claws on their hands, on their fingers, and at most they have a very small snout. Whereas now that's a werewolf. Now, as a dog man, I mean, it's essentially a dog with a similar torso to a human, but their legs are like dog legs.
So what
Got
you're
it.
saying is between werewolf and dogman, I would rather want to go with werewolf because of their leg structure, they would run slower.
No. So actually, the werewolf is a more effective killer than a dogman. Actually, a werewolf is much stronger. They are, they dominate over the dogmen more so. They grow to be, and again, this is according to, actually, if you ever get a chance, look up this guy. His name is Jeff Nadonley, or I can never say his last name, but he has a YouTube channel called Dogman Encounters with Jeff Nadonley, whatever. So he was contacted by a guy named Victor. Victor said that he was working with a team that would go out and kill or capture dogmen and werewolves if they became nuisances. So he was explaining kind of the differences between the two, and the fact that the werewolf is actually can speak. They can, speak English. They're very intelligent, whereas the dogman can't. And also the werewolves are like I said, they're more powerful.
That's interesting. I didn't actually know that werewolves, generally speaking, are more powerful. That's funny.
And
As much as
he said they look like kind of the what is it, the Lon Chaney werewolf,
right,
from back in the day. They look more so like that.
Well, so that makes me think of this, which is, we know this. They have to tell you, right? So Hollywood and Universal Studios gave you all these monsters because they have to show you, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, like the werewolf. Would it look like that one Harry Potter movie, spoiler alert, where that one evil teacher turns into a werewolf, and like he's snorting and wandering around stuff, but he has a really short snoot and like looks like a human, except he's like bent over like early ape walkers, but he can still speak English, but it's like a roughened, snarly English.
Right, then that would be more like a werewolf.
I'm going to turn our background music down a tiny bit. It's got 1 pixel. Nope. Man, there's only... I had it perfect. There we go. I'm just going to have to leave it there. So last time I looked, and let me just check the page actually. Yeah, so this video right here, I already know the kiddo here, Angular, really doesn't want to see that one. Even if I told it, he would say no before he even saw 2 seconds. But the one before, it's called CryptedTours. It's from about a month ago. Peking Dog Man. I wanted to ask you a couple questions about that one because I watched your video, I looked at your analysis, and I wanted to kind of let the viewers here on this show, and we encourage them to go check out your channel because there's a lot of information there, and your take on it, you know, like looking at how the videos really can't be faked, and you kind of walk through that and prove it. But I wanted to kind of like whet their appetite. We can show it, or we can just kind of talk about it.
Can we show? I'm kind of interested, but at the same time,
why don't we show little bits of it?
Yeah.
Here, okay, so I'm going to show...
I'm going to have nightmares for a month.
I'll keep the sound... Right. No, this one's not as... I'll keep the sound down a bit, and I'll kind of scrub... People are going to want to go over and listen to the whole thing. Let's see if I can find where you play through. Yeah, here, I'll just let it go. You can see he looks like a dog there. Now, you're going to... I don't think you're going to be able to see... Oh, let me show... Let me see. What I'll do, I'll share my video. Wonder if it'll share. It'll probably stop sharing the audio. Wait, what's going on? Video, portion of screen. Why won't it let me do both? Alright, never mind. Anyway, so you've seen a bit of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, my tech isn't perfect. So here, let it play for a second.
Can we unmute it? I mean, I'm just interested in what he's saying.
Well, so here's where he kind of turns at the camera and looks a little bit more like a... Oh, there's where his eyes look right at you.
Oh.
Yeah. That's where he kind of changed. I wanted to ask you about that. So, is he shifting shape slightly at that moment?
Well, you know, okay, so it's I don't believe it's changing its shape.
Right.
I think what it is that his natural, like what he's doing there, he's looking at something probably, you know, I mean, it could be a person, it could be an animal, whatever. But he's just kind of being an animal, I would say, right? Looks like a dog. Looks exactly like a dog from the profile. But when he realizes he's being looked at or he's being watched, his whole demeanor changes, right? And I think he shifts from just being an animal to being an aware, almost human intelligent animal, you know? Because, you know, as he turns his head, and what he does is he just drops his snout, right? So he can get a good look. And every time I show people this, I ask them, I said, have you ever seen a dog hide its face and peek out at you? Never have.
You'd think that was the weirdest thing. You'd suddenly be like my dog has 120 IQ. Where'd that come from?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, what dog knows to hide one eye and keep that side in shadow, right, and the other eye just kind of peeking out? No.
They don't. No. That's not built into their instincts and the way they move and think. You know
they're
this.
Not that aware.
Yeah. Right, exactly. They're aware of how can I get my food, how can I be in my pack, how can I be approved. That's about it.
Right, exactly. And you see, like right there, it looks super human, like it looks human right there.
Mm-hmm.
It almost looks like it has a comb over, you know, not a comb over, but you know how they kind of swoop the hair over?
Right.
It's kind of weird, but yeah, that's a free, and you see that ear. One thing that people always describe are the ears that are super tall, and sometimes they say that they have hair on them where they have this tuft of hair at the very top, or they say it looks, the ear looks almost kind of bat-like.
Sit still with the knees. He's like over here wiggling with the knees. Yeah, almost bat-like.
Could it be two different species?
As far as
What do you mean?
Of Dogman. Like, you know how butterflies have thousands of different species, but we classify them as the same butterfly genus?
Well,
Genus.
they are essentially the same. Now, it's just like any dog, right? So you have dogs all belong to the same family or species, right? But you have different types and subgroups within that group. So, you know, and that just really comes. So you have your macro, kind of the macro differences where they just look different. They have a little bit different body type, different sizes, but the way you want to look at it is every dog can reproduce with another dog. It doesn't matter if it's a huge dog and a little dog, they can all reproduce together. So in this particular case, I believe that's the same thing. There are some who are a little less hairy, some that are more hairy. But then again, we don't know how they originate. Okay, so there's been talk. If you look it up, there's something called cynocephali. All right, so there were beings that they're talked about in a lot of very old books and whatnot, where they talk about these beings who had dog heads but human bodies. Okay,
Like,
go ahead.
like the Egyptian gods.
Yes, kind of like Anubis, but they couldn't speak, you know, like we speak. However, they would yip and yap and all that. They were basically, they would get hired out to fight as a type of mercenary. Okay, now the animals, animals we have today, they're very different from a lot of what's been explained to exist in the past. See, today you have these creatures that kind of it just looks like a huge wolf that walks on two legs. There are a lot of people that say that. They say this thing looked exactly like a wolf, and then it stood up on its back hind, you know, its hind legs, and it just walked off, or whatever, you know. Now you have another type that they look awkward on all fours, right? They have a huge upper body and then kind of smaller back end like a dog. But when they stand up, they have shoulders like a man. They have wide, I mean, people have said that they've seen them as wide as like 4 feet, you know, hugely muscular, like a bodybuilder, you know, and this horrific face, or, you know, wolf-like or dog-like face. I mean, the descriptions are just wild sometimes. So there are different types, like completely different body types, whereas, you know, the only thing that they have, well, the thing that they have more so in common is just the fact that they can walk on their back legs.
Right. So wait, is it the dog man that can, like, kind of just like walk up and, like, it looks fine on all fours and fine on just back legs, and then is it the the werewolf that has, like, the big wide muscular shoulders?
No, I think there's three things now that we're talking about, right? Two kinds of dog mans, and earlier on the wolf man.
Right.
Yeah.
So the werewolf, it has a body like, you know, so if you think of Arnold Schwarzenegger, they're more like that. Huge, muscular, you know, big man that's hairy with fangs and long claws. Whereas a dog man, some of them are more spindly, like they look, you know, like I said, like a dog walking on their back legs. And then you have the dog men who are hugely muscular, and they have back legs like a dog. Yeah. So it just really kind of depends. And well, when we get to the other video, we'll kind of get into some of the attributes that you see, you know, coming out from under that blanket or that sheet.
Sorry. Are these cryptids, are they only in North America, or are they in all over the world? Like, only the Americas? Or... worldwide?
Yeah.
Are they
Here-
most prominent in the Americas, or?
It's a good
No.
question.
Because look, in Europe, werewolf stories go back hundreds of years, right? In fact, there's a story where they said that I don't know if it's a werewolf or maybe Dogman and werewolf weren't seen here by anyone until the Europeans got here. So, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. It's not like they went and polled every Native American and asked them. We do know that there were Nephilim here that the Native Americans encountered when they first got here. So, the Native Americans came from Europe, from the old world, we'll say, because it wasn't called Europe at the time. But they came here from the old world. And when they got here, they encountered giants. They encountered the Bigfoot. There are so many different types of creatures that have been talked about, that people have seen. It's absolutely unbelievable. I never honestly would have ever imagined anything like that. But and because you wonder, like, why is it that I haven't seen anything, right? We've all been in the woods and all that. But the thing is, you weren't looking for it. And you have to understand these animals, just like, how many times have you ever seen a bear in the wild?
Right.
I saw the first time in my whole life, I saw a bear when we went to Marfa. We went to Big Bend National Park. And a bear got on the trail, like down from us. But that's the first time I've ever seen a bear in the wild like that. So,
You just said a key phrase that caught my ear so fierce. You're like, I forget how you just said it, but we actually did an interview with a channel here called Our Cloaked Unseen World, and he has seen like some more of the Bigfoot type, and you have to kind of learn how to see them because they don't want to be seen all the time. And
Right.
you kind of hit on that.
right.
Have you seen one of these cryptids before?
So now I do have this in my encounters on my channel, but I'll kind of briefly go over what I have experienced. So the very first time that I know that I was in the presence or I was near something that was strange, I was about 9 or 10. I was in Louisiana. My mother's from Louisiana. We were at a family reunion. And this was, obviously years ago. I was, like I said, 9, 10. And they had an outhouse, right? So they didn't have a bathroom inside the house. It was in the back. There were people out front. There were a lot of cars, people out front. There were people in the back, but nobody on the side. So there was a light on the porch in the front. There was a light on the porch in the back, but nothing on the side. So it was just pitch black. So I thought, hey, you know what? I'm going to be brave. I'm going to walk around the side of the house because all the other kids were afraid to. So I start walking back there, and it took me about maybe 10, 15 feet before my eyes adjusted to the dark. And then I realized there was something, not maybe 5 feet from me to my left. And I was seeing it out of just kind of my peripheral. It was kind of pinkish. It didn't look like it had hair, like much hair, but it was really big. It was taller than me. And it looked like it was kind of squatted down or maybe sitting down because there was no space. Like it was just like a pink wall, right? And it had like these dots, almost like chicken skin, kind of like that. And I heard this raspy breathing. It was kind of like, like that. And yeah, it took me about 2 seconds, turn around, and I bolted back to the front. I told my mom and got my dad. We went back there and it was gone.
It reminds me of one of the sightings you were covering where the guy's walking down the path and it's nighttime and he's got his good phone or whatever and he sees something and all of a sudden there's just, the angles change. He turned and ran, right? That's the natural thing you would do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Do you think that thing wanted to eat to save you for breakfast the next day, or eat you then, or not eat you?
I don't know. I don't know what it was there for. Maybe because it wasn't facing me. I saw it didn't look like it was facing me from what I could see. I just saw this smooth continuance of skin, and I mean, honestly, I don't know. It may have been something that was visiting the house, because a lot of times what happens is these things, they come around because they, anytime there are children or if there's any type of, activity, they're interested. They're very curious. So they'll come up to your window and they'll tap on your window to get your attention. They'll peer in through the windows. Actually the family, my cousins there, they had foil over the windows, right? I always wondered why, because their house was almost completely surrounded by trees, right? I mean, not like right up to the house, but they wouldn't have had to worry about the sun. So I always wondered why they did that. Well, that's one of the reasons why people in the country put foil on their windows, so they can keep some things from peeking in the house.
I was going to specifically ask you, I have it planned. Maybe there's like 3 main zones, like city, country, and the halfway between. Do city dwellers have to even be aware of this? Or is this a country phenomenon? How does this work?
Absolutely not specifically country.
Right.
There have been people who have said that they've seen them in buildings. They've seen them in neighborhoods like we live in. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Even here where we live, we've had some very strange occurrences. If you hear, and I'm not saying that this happened. This is, all the time, but if you hear coyotes like getting really excited, there could be something more going on. And especially with dogmen, they're very nomadic. They're constantly moving, and coyotes love to hang around them. So
what you're saying is, well, that one year we had a batch of coyotes, there could have been another non-coyote?
It's an interesting question.
And you may not have even known it. You could see the pack. You might see one bigger one, but generally, I mean, you may not even know that you might think that it's just a big coyote.
Until it stands up.
Right.
Until it stands up. Yeah.
Well, and when it stands up, and I've seen enough of your videos and some of the ones that you've introduced me to also, when it stands up, you have X amount of fear, like you would normally expect. But a lot of people talk about it goes a little deeper. Do you want to say a little bit about that? Like, do they have other abilities? Like, what can they do to their, prey or potential prey? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of people talk about Bigfoot having some type of ability they use ultrasound. So some people report getting violently sick, like where they throw up, puke, whatever, after the encounter, or sometimes they are just completely frozen and they cannot move at all. And also with the dogman, actually, one encounter, this guy, so there were 2 guys together walking through, down a road or somewhere. They were walking together, and one of the guys he just turned off from the path and was walking, and removing his clothes at the same time. And when his friend looked at what he was doing and where he was going, he said he was headed towards this huge, like, dog looking thing, but it was, he said it was on all fours, but he said it was just sitting, it was looking at the guy. The guy was looking at it right in the face, but he's walking towards it, removing his clothes. He had to go over there, grab the guy and tell him, look, why are you walking towards that thing? Let's go. So they believe that this dog man was using ultrasound to mess with his mind. And also dog man, they a lot of people have reported that they do have they do something called mind speak, or I forgot what is the it's not telekinesis, it's
oh, now you're making, I'm old enough where you're making me forget it as I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's not ESP
telepathy, or not telepathy, but something like that, right?
Where it can plant the words in.
There's there's a character from the A Wrinkle in Time novel where he just sits back in his chair. He has red swirling eyes and a light bulb above him. Like, do you play Halo, the video game?
I have, yep.
You know those lights on the UNSC? They're like red. They have the two red things and they're swirling around like emergency lights.
Right.
How I envisioned him, this big character, all like in like all buffed and stuff. The big swirly eyes, big one of those emergency lights. He sits like this.
Right.
With like his lips pressed into a thin line. And they just hear him speak, even though he doesn't move. He stays still the entire encounter. No twitch, no nothing. I don't even think, because like the average human eyeball, even if you're looking straight at something, it just jiggles a tiny bit. I don't even think his eyeballs move like that. I just think he was completely still.
Right.
I mean, no breathing noises, no motions. Kind of like that.
You mentioned Halo. A lot of those creatures in there kind of seem a little on the edge of cryptidness, right? There's the little short ones, the tall ones that have a little bit of a animal-like, the way their feet move, but they can still shoot.
Yeah,
guns.
like dog legs, they work like they have the kind of human part that's like the two legs, the upper thigh and the bottom leg. They walk. I'm giving a bad demonstration with my hands. And then their feet, instead of us humans, we have the two portions are very large, and then the foot is relatively small. So, they're all three equal. They walk like that. Kind of like the dog man.
So it's called digigrade, it's called digigrade. Dogs have digigrade because, and actually it's not there. A lot of people say it's their knee in the back, but it's not. It's actually their heel. They have a short thigh and a long, basically like it would be a long foot, right? So it's called digigrade. And then humans and bears even have a foot structure that's called plantigrade. So, our heel and our whole foot is actually planted on the ground. Whereas dogs, it's just their digits.
Yeah, they're just standing on the tips of their toes.
Right.
So my next random question is going to come from, it's going to be hard to make it seem like I don't know a little bit about Dogman.
Well, actually, one more question before I forget it again.
Yeah.
Could they have just integrated with early human life in North American continent? Because like from the old world, they're like, beasts, stay away from me, because they have all the Christian Bible stuff. They're like, these things are all satanic. They're just stay away, draw your sword, cut them up into itty bitty bits. But the New World, all the humans there didn't have the Bible, which is why you see all those.
You're asking a really good question for our guest. Let's see where this goes. I love this question.
So go ahead.
Finish the question. I couldn't hold it in. Keep going.
They come in, they get to the North American forests. I'm going to assume that's where they're most prominent because it's a bunch of forests and stuff, less open. So they get to the forests and they see these giant freaking creatures. And since they have all their pagan religions with all the weird shaped gods, they're like, it must be a god. And so they might have worshipped him if he's a
Egypt
dog man.
worshipped Anubis, right? And that's the old world.
Well, yeah.
Just trying to throw a wrench in there.
But
there's an assumption in what your question is, but keep going.
Well,
keep going.
Egyptian Anubis was exactly human structure, not any fur, not a giant pink
but it had
wall.
A dog head. I don't want to derail your question. I just keep going.
Yeah, but if you see this giant, magnificent beast and he talks to you, then you must think he's been sent from like an astral plane or whatever. Right? Could that have happened? Could they have just mingled into society as same level as the natives or even higher?
Well, okay. So, first of all, I have to address something. Number one, we were lied to. Okay?
Bing.
And the reason I'm saying that is because the people that came here, the Native Americans that were encountered by the people who came here later, they weren't pagans. They were very aware of God and all that, right? But they came here, they left the old world in I think it was around 726 BC. Okay. So when they got here, they were fully aware. In fact, the reason why they came to this place was so they would not be distracted by the pagans who were in the old world. Okay. So when they got here, they did encounter these creatures and they knew about them already, because actually the scriptures already talked about it. Enoch and all of those scriptures talked about the Nephilim. So they were already aware of these creatures and they fought them. However, they did get to the point where they started to worship them. So that's where the problem came in there. Now, these creatures, they didn't necessarily integrate, because most of them were killed. There are stories about how some of the giants were actually basically killed through the Indians putting sticks and whatnot, logs, and and igniting that, and then killing a whole bunch of giants that were taking their women and children. There's a lot of different stories of all that. It's kind of crazy, actually. But what they ended up doing was worshiping some of these creatures, because some of them had powers that were off the chart. I mean, I don't want to get too deep in that, because there is absolutely so much. I'll tell you what, look up also the cone heads, cone heads. These creatures are all over the world as well, especially down like you can look up the cone heads of Peru. Worship. Anyway, a lot of those creatures also. There's a story from, I think it's from the Hopi, that they said these creatures were swallowed up by the earth. Okay, meaning that they went underground at a certain point in time, and they said that there would come a day when the earth would spit them back out. And I think that's what we are experiencing now, because there's just a lot going on. In fact, I believe we're about to experience something much greater than we've seen.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, but you know what I've noticed as the end times keep rolling out? If you got eyeballs in your skull, you don't tend to despair, right? It's rolling out, and it's not to be taken lightly, but God takes care of his children.
Absolutely. You cannot worry. You cannot be afraid. Yeah.
That's right. I have been in the wrong chat on the Foxhole, and I was just alerted to that by Decem Raw on YouTube. Let me fix that. I don't know how I messed that up, but anyway, I'll
Sweet.
put this here. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a really quick question.
Yeah.
Could all the political turmoil stuff be going about because the Earth has been spitting back these creatures back up, and like all the werewolves in China and North Korea and Russia and Ukraine, they've been just talking to the leaders, just like through the telepathy or whatever.
Well, so in Revelation
Anyway.
9,
Sweet.
it tells you that the
I have a really quick question.
angel of
Yeah.
the bottomless pit would, essentially, there would be something to open up this doorway to allow these things back, right?
Right.
And I believe that doorway
Telepathy.
is CERN.
CERN?
The
Yeah.
big giant particle collider in Switzerland and nearby areas.
Oh.
Yeah. In fact, they've been going. They were undergoing an upgrade for the last, I think it was 3 years. They just opened. I think they're opening this weekend, tomorrow. They're reopening, so they
did not
can
know
do
that.
more experiments.
That's so annoying.
Dang it.
So yeah, I
Right.
think, and in fact, I was looking at a video earlier today. People recorded this huge, what looks like a portal. It looks exactly like you would imagine a portal being. It was just crazy. It's at night. The sky is dark, and then this portal has this bluish white line, like outlining it, and then it's like really black in the center, and it's huge. So, they're doing something. They've been trying to free their masters. I'll say these creatures. I mean, yeah, I think we were misled. My take on all of this is we were misled about a lot of things. We were made to look at things a certain way, and that's just not the way it is.
Total agreement. I'm having some producer difficulties over here trying to get rid of this ad. I found out we were in the wrong chat, all that other stuff.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
All right.
I mean,
But Decem Raw asked a couple questions. You can probably see them on the YouTube screen there, D. He said he's not sure. They might find us tasty, but maybe they're just more curious, like we are about them. For now, right?
yeah,
Decem Raw says it's all correct now. Thank you, Decem Raw, for keeping us. And then he also pointed out, let's see, where was that? Over on, you can probably see it better than I can. The Fox, where was it? He said one other thing. Oh, telepathy. He mentioned that they have telepathy. Telepathy, that's the word we were looking for.
Yeah, I did say it. But,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, telepathy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Telepathy.
Telepathic.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
No,
So-
please.
if CERN is the gateway for the creatures to come,
A gateway.
back,
I
or
don't know if
is-
it's the only one.
I hope
Yeah.
it's the only one.
I think there's some out in the west part of America that Aleister Crowley opened up one. Anyway, keep going.
Anyway, so if you needed gateways to get them out from the Earth, would you have needed gateways to get them in to the Earth?
Well, uh-oh. Did I disappear? Yeah.
You're
Yes.
back.
Okay. So, all right. The gateway thing, I think there are like Greg was saying, there are multiple types of portals. I've actually, me and my wife saw something extremely strange one day. I'll have to explain that, but I think CERN is it's handling, you know, maybe one specific thing. Now, my take on this is that we know that the angels that fell, right? They were locked up in the abyss or sent, you know, put in the abyss, right? Now, some say it's underwater, but I I I don't necessarily think that. I'm not saying it's not, but I think the abyss may very well be what we would consider like deep space.
Mm.
Okay, like very very far away. What actually made me think that was, and you gotta understand, like Greg was saying earlier, the movies and shows, and you know, especially when it's specifically about superpowered people such as superheroes, um, they are telling us something. Now, there is one in particular. His name is Black Adam, and that Black Adam is about to come out. But Black Adam's story is that he was given all of these powers. If you look up Shazam, I mean, that, you know, you'll understand what each letter. It's an acronym, but he actually was given these powers, and he did bad. He was a bad boy, and he was sent like really far away, right? It took him 10,000 years to return to Earth. Okay, so I think that is kind of a window into what I'm talking about, the abyss, right? So I think CERN is more in what CERN could possibly be is kind of something that opens a wormhole to allow these creatures to come back, or these beings, right? Possibly. I mean, we don't, you know, I mean, and it just comes down to this: we don't know. We really don't know. I mean, everything that everybody says, it's a guess at best. Okay, it's just we're doing. I mean, imagine you're in the dark, feeling around. You're picking up pieces of something, and you're trying to put it together. And you know, someone tells you, look, there's this thing in there. You need to go around, pick up the pieces, put it together. They didn't tell you what it is, so you got to kind of figure it out yourself, right? And that's what we're doing. We have no idea what's going on. So that's something that I've entertained. I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to get into too much other stuff. There's a lot of stuff. Actually, Greg and I have talked about many times, but yeah, that kind of put me in the mindset of, you know, this abyss, the CERN, because actually I did a video on CERN years ago. I don't know if most people are aware, but CERN, there's a statue of Shiva, right? And the thing is like Shiva takes multiple different forms.
Mm-hmm.
But Shiva standing has well, actually it's Shiva's actually a hermaphroditic type you know, creature or whatever,
Right.
has his foot on a baby. Okay. Now, I think that form of Shiva is the form a destroyer.
Right.
Now, when you look at Revelation 6, it talks about Apollyon and Abaddon, right?
Right.
And it speaks about, and when you look that up, it's the destroyer. I mean, all of this stuff ties in. If you know how to kind of put the pieces together, you can get a pretty decent glimpse of what's going on. I don't know if that answers your question, but
I think it does. It starts a few more questions. I have one. Do you have one? It's okay if you don't.
Decent was saying that the Shiva is outside CERN.
Right.
right.
Yeah. Well, and if you look for it long enough, you'll find a video where somebody was tucked in a corner and they were videoing one of the rituals that was going on at CERN. And if you don't want to believe that one, you can actually just watch the one that CERN publicized, where all their doctors or their scientists in white lab coats did the dance. They did the destruction and rebirth dance straight up as a celebration of what CERN is. They published it. It's on their website. I don't know if it's still there, but it was.
They even did a sacrifice on the grounds of CERN.
That's right.
There was a girl that they sacrificed out there.
Yep. That's in the bootleg video.
Yeah.
That, as you watch it, I mean, I've watched it 3 or 4 times, and I've done kind of like what you do on CryptedTours, where you analyze the video for how could it have been made any other way than what they say.
Right.
This one almost looks to me like they wanted a recording of it and wanted it to get out, but wanted to kind of make it look like they didn't want there to be a recording of it.
Right.
It's kind of how it looks to me.
Right.
So some of these things lead to, you've kind of touched on this. Is there a seasonality to Dogman activities or cryptid activities? Does it come and go? Is it increasing these days? What's happening on that? If you have any knowledge of that, or if you've picked anything up, or if we even know.
Well, from what a lot of people have said that have had to deal with these things on their property, they say that Dogmen, like I said, they're more nomadic. They generally don't just settle in a place because they are so ravenous that if they stay too long, they just essentially kill everything in the area, right? They don't have any idea on, well, they don't have any control to where they can kind of ration their food sources. Whereas Bigfoot or Sasquatch, they do get settled in, and because they are omnivores, they generally will stay in an area, and they're very, very territorial, So, and then you have the werewolf, which well, let me get back to Dogman. They travel in packs generally. So if you see one Dogman, most likely there's 2 or more that you don't see, and they've already flanked you, right? And Bigfoot as well. If you see one Bigfoot, they're usually 1 or 2 more nearby, right? And it just depends. I think a lot of them, depend. You can't really go by the experiences, right? Because they're so wildly different. Some people say that they've been chased, they've been bluff charged, they've been essentially escorted out, kind of pushed out, and then you don't hear from the people that get attacked that don't make it. I mean, you find bones essentially, or clothes. Now there was one account where these guys found a woman that was tucked, I think she was in a tree, right? Missing a leg or an arm or something like that. And essentially it was a Bigfoot that had taken her. If you watch the 411 videos, or, read those books, a lot of people go missing. I wouldn't, people think that these creatures don't attack us and all that. Well, the thing is, you don't know, or you don't hear from the people that don't make it back. They just disappear. And you find, like I said, you may find something or maybe not. So
I want to cheat a little bit because, our viewers have probably figured out that I've chatted with you for years about this. So I'm going to cheat a little, because what you just made me realize is, if I put together what I've heard for the last 53 minutes, about sort of the proclivities of Dogman, of Sasquatch, and of Wolfman, or of werewolves, they seem to also have, is there an element of training that they might receive of what they should or shouldn't do that they may not even understand, to keep them only in the national parks, or reduce it? You know what I'm saying? Like, is there some intelligence behind that? Do they answer to anything, or do you know?
So, considering the fact that people see them everywhere, and generally, I think the way it's kind of set up is that the national parks are placed such that these things can travel without having to go through any neighborhoods or much of one. Like I think I'm pretty sure if you looked at the map and look at all those parks, they would kind of line up in such a way that it's kind of like a highway. Now, a lot of times, generally, they stay close to water. So if you're, be very aware if you're near a creek or rivers, things like that. They do use those as highways as well. So, but again, you just never know if you have one that's hungry,
Right.
or curious. I mean, I've literally listened to thousands of encounters, and from people who claim to be those who actually hunt these creatures, manage them. The guy Victor that I mentioned earlier, he said that they actually put chips. They monitored their positions by putting chips in there near their spinal column, lower back spinal column. So there's a lot that the public, they don't want us to know for whatever reason. I hear a lot of times, well, if people knew that these creatures were in the woods, they would never, the parks would lose money. Well, I mean, not to get too political necessarily, but
Right.
look at what's happening right now. I mean,
Right.
there hasn't been much care in how things were run. I mean, they don't care about that. There's a reason why they're not telling us, and I believe it's more nefarious.
I just want to interject Decimraw on the Foxhole chat, because once I fixed it, he popped back over here.
Okay.
Points out there's a story from when St. Helens blew up in the 80s that the U.S. government was also helping Bigfoot during that time.
What?
I hadn't heard
Yeah.
about that.
What's St. Helens?
It
Oh,
was a volcano out on the West Coast. You heard about
Yeah, I
that?
heard about
D?
that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, from what I understand, they said they found a few of them dead and all that stuff. But for the most part, they, of course, they got them out. Now, there's also this understanding that they're not actually, well, I won't say necessarily. They might have originated here, but they may not currently. Many of them may not actually reside here.
Okay.
I mean, there's been a lot of talk about them being seen in association with UFOs. There are people who say that actually dogmen, the ones that are more muscular, the soldier type, that as they call them, super soldier type, they're actually cybernetic, or part, like they have some of that cyborg whatever
Bionic?
equipment in them, and they're actually from somewhere else. I mean, it just there's so much, man. It's
Right.
so much. It's crazy.
You sort of mentioned nefarious, and I paused us to look at the chat for a second. Did you want to explore that, or kind of leave it at that for now? There was some nefariousness behind it, or is that for another interview? I mean, I'm cool either way.
Which one?
You said it was like 2 topics ago, and you said there was something possibly nefarious behind. I forgot what it was. It just stuck in my mind.
Behind them not letting us know.
Maybe it was that. Do you remember? All right,
I have
I'm
no
bad
idea.
interviewer.
Yeah.
So what I could do is, I took a link from. So we may not show it when he's watching, and I do want to respect your time. But I put a link to the most recent CryptedTours video. I think viewers need to watch it, but don't think it's for fun. It's a pretty eye-opening and scary something that happened. It's a kidnapping, and if Dogman kidnaps you, you're not coming back from that.
Yeah.
At least not in this video. So I put a link in there. Viewers can go to it. I'm happy to reel it right here. You might not want to watch it.
no, I'm not. I'm gonna
But
fail.
do you want to comment on it, D, at all? Given kind of where we've taken the conversation, what should viewers know about that?
Yeah. So this is not an uncommon kind of happening, right? Where children are basically taken out of their homes, out of their beds while they sleep, or while they're being not being attended to. In this particular case, a little girl is, she's in her crib. It almost kind of looks like a daybed type thing, but they said a crib. So she's there coloring. She's about 1 year, she's a 1 year old. And she's just having a good time. They have a baby monitor on her. And suddenly you see this hand, and and initially it almost looks about the size of a person's hand, right? It's just like the middle fingers kind of come out, and then the whole hand comes out, and it's huge. Like it's the whole hand is as wide as this little girl's back, like her torso is like wider than that, right? People's hands don't get that big. I'm sorry. And you can tell this thing, it has claws on it, right? And totally black, like super black fur, everything. And the hand comes out, it almost kind of walks over to the girl, like it walks its fingers
almost
slightly.
Like a spider for a second,
Yeah. And then it grabs her leg and pulls her so quick. Like I tried to, I was looking, somebody was saying, well, it looks like they fast forwarded. I'm like, no, you look at the blanket, the little sheet, it didn't move like it was fast forwarded.
Right.
This thing yanked her so quickly, who would do that to a little girl? Who would do that to a kid?
As
Why
a
would
stunt video,
prank
you mean?
Something like that.
You mean like as a stunt video, as a prank or whatever?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was too much force. And this thing, and she was gone. This thing took her. Right. So in the video itself, I didn't add the part from the beginning. There was a guy actually kind of explaining the whole situation, but he said that it was a young couple with their daughter playing, and they never found the girl. The girl is gone. And there are other encounters that I've listened to where one in particular, this little boy said that he woke up, it was 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and he looked out his window and he could see one of these things standing outside the window of a neighbor's house, and it had a baby in its arm. Like it had just reached in, it was next to an open window. It had just reached in, grabbed the baby. The baby was crying, but it was walking off into the woods. They eat humans.
So keep a close eye on your kids.
Absolutely. Don't. And I wouldn't even say, if you're in a neighborhood where other people are, it doesn't matter. Don't put your kid next to an open window.
Right.
I don't care if you have the window open and the screen is there. No.
Yeah.
They don't generally break windows, but there are encounters where they've done that too.
Right.
So.
Now I know the kiddo's concerned. The name of Jesus.
Yeah.
Yahushua. So you're good, right? Like you come across something like this, if we know from the book of Job that the Most High might let something come towards you or near you, but it's not going to do anything more than what he permits. So you can rest in that. Right. I gotta ease the mind of the kiddo. I can see it, his face over there. He's like, this is scary stuff.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about. So there are people, you gotta understand, there are people who really don't know the Most High at all. They've heard, and that's the thing. That was the objective in this, really in the world in the last few years, was to just generally move people away from a belief in a creator, right? So, that is a protection. That's the reason why they say, you put on the whole armor of God, right? That armor is spiritual and it's, it's physical, because it will keep you. I'm telling you from my personal experiences. I have, I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but I've had like rocks thrown at me from less than 10 feet away that did not hit me. The people throwing them at me could not hit it. Not one rock hit me, right? And from that short a distance, there's no way. Mm-hmm. So yeah, once you have it made up in your mind, you make your mind up that he has you, and believe me, he does.
Amen. Again, trying to be respectful of your time, and I heard you might have to help somebody with a car issue. I want to at least make sure we cover. I looked at CryptedTours, and it looks like it's popping a bit. You know, you've been doing a little bit more lately. Anything you want to tell us, either upcoming or what has been fascinating lately, or just any kind of promotion of the channel, or just anything people need to know about cryptids or Dogman, whatever we've left out.
So there's a lot.
Yes.
I could literally sit here and talk about it for the next 5 hours, but generally, you know, if you're out in the woods, just make sure you're not alone. And you know what, if you can have a firearm, it's better. Now a lot of people say that you shoot them, nothing happens, but I tell you what, I'd rather have it than not have it. So one thing about my channel, the concept, that the reason why I call it CryptedTours was because my initial idea was, and it still is this, was to basically set up a vehicle where I could take people to the areas where these things are seen, but in a very safe manner. I would have, 2 or 3 people with us who are very good with firearms. The vehicle would be, essentially is like a bus, like one of those short buses that's set up, no windows, just cameras where everything is seen through, using monitors. So, I mean, everybody's completely safe. Just get out and go to the LBL. I don't know if you might want to look up the beast of the LBL, Land Between the Lakes. There was a situation that happened there back in the 80s. Texas is really, really, big on it too, down in the Austin area. We have some major forests here. I mean, I think it's the Sam Houston area, like down near Houston. I think it's the Sam Houston National Forest or something like that. Around the Sabine River, all of that, so that's what I was planning on doing. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to, but that's still kind of the plan. Other than that, I got some more. I'm going to be doing some more of the videos that I've done, kind of explaining what I see and what I think, and also reading some encounters. And I have some plans to basically get people to send their encounters into me so I can read them as well. So
I've enjoyed listening to you read some of the encounters. That's on some of the videos as well that are on your channel. You have a good presentation.
I appreciate it.
If you like being scared a little bit, put it on at midnight.
I don't.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we're gonna have to talk him off the ceiling. You said 5 more hours. I'm probably gonna ask you to come back if you would ever want to, because if there's that many more hours of things we can learn, I would. And do you have anything? I have more questions, but we rounded a lot of the corners I wanted to hit. Do you have anything?
I think I might just gonna...
He's freaked out. Want to get you to, I know you have to help somebody with a car issue. I want to thank you tremendously for introducing my 4 channels. There was one on Facebook, YouTube, D Live, and the Foxhole. Introducing to Dogman. It's an important topic. It's integrated into a lot of what a lot of these channels talk about. You go down enough rabbit holes, you come across Dogman.
Absolutely.
Yep. It's important, and I'm so happy that you specialize not just in Dogman. Maybe we can cover some other topics on another visit.
Yeah,
and
we can talk about the rake or crawlers or whatever they call.
You had a video of a crawler.
Yes.
Behind a little, like a little pile. Maybe there was an animal there, and the crawler. Yeah. So you can find the crawler video. Some people call it a rake.
Yeah, some people call it rake. Yeah, It was. I think the name rake came from kind of a creepy pasta. Some people don't like it. I'm just like, who cares? It's a name.
Right.
If people know, if they know what to associate it with, I mean, what does it matter?
Well, what the CIA is an absolute expert is if people start to figure something out, they send in the shills and the trolls, and they start chopping down any accumulation of knowledge. That's one thing I like about the Foxhole. Just a quick plug to one of the 4 restreams I do, the Foxhole.app. Pretty chill atmosphere at the Foxhole.app. Got a couple shills and not shills. Got a couple trolls every now and then, but we have fun with that too. But Facebook, YouTube, DLive, and I covered St. Christopher the Dogman on a couple Sundays ago. Did about a 90-minute episode on St. Christopher the Dogman. I'll send you the link. That's actually what kind of got me thinking I was overdue for hitting you up for an interview. I was like, I want to go deeper into Dogman, but I didn't want to do it without you. Yeah.
No, that's fine, man. Anytime you want me back, just let me know.
Right on. I'll do a little more homework, and I'll put together. We'll go deeper next time. This was the introduction, and so I'll play our standard canned outro. But any last words from anybody?
No, I don't got them.
All right, D.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it, man. Very nice conversation we've had.
Thank you so much. If you have 2 minutes, I can chat with you after. If you have to go, that's cool. But I'll start the outro. Love the Foxhole fam and the friends, and we'll set the outro now. I gotta mute the other music. Thank you for spending time with us. We're joined on Fridays by co-host Angular. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore. Be sure to catch us on the Foxhole.app, DLive, YouTube, or Facebook. Current shows include the Bread Pill Weekly. You've been red pilled, now be the red pill. You're out of the oven and ready for delivery on our weekly alternative news roundup and call-in show on Foxhole, DLive, YouTube, and Facebook every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Central, co-hosted by G. Ross and Angular. Current shows include Epistemology for Fun and Profit, where woo meets goo. You're in the woo, and the woo is in you. A philosophical call-in show with occasional guest interviews, diving into the oldest questions. Most episodes are exclusively on the Foxhole.app, Sunday at 11:30 p.m. Central. Current shows include 90 Nation, the nation with no denomination. Declare to the custom agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. We take a look back at how we got here, eventually leading into a regular Wednesday night Bible study at 11 p.m. Central. I don't think I can. By the way, since I am talking, the Foxhole.app, I released the Gold Pills, DLive, YouTube, and Facebook. Sorry, our Friday co-host is Angular. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore. To my Foxhole.app friends, I released the scratch, and sorry, I didn't see the gold pills until just now. I had broken chat, and so I am horrible, so I can't even thank who sent in the gold pills. I'll try to look it up. All right. Let me stop the broadcast. That was about maybe the dumbest outro I've ever done.